Hi, and welcome to Cat Ren Figures. I'm your host Caitlin, and today we're going to be reviewing DC Rebirth's Superman Annual #1. So, basically, this is what happens when the old world Superman from the old continuity before Rebirth has lived in the New 52 universe for long enough. He actually starts to adversely affect it. And in this issue, we start out on Kent Farm. And the soil just isn't taking. The crops just aren't taking. And he doesn't understand why. They've had more than enough rain. There hasn't been any kind of droughts, any kind of issues. Yet it needs more and more water. So he decides that this is not a job for Clark Kent. This is a job for Superman. So he goes and he checks out all the local bodies of water. They're all dried out. And he finds out that there are so many various sinkholes in all of these areas. And he doesn't understand what the cause is. And then he runs into Swamp Thing. Yes, I'm gonna let you look at that for a second. He runs into Swamp Thing. So, Swamp Thing is basically telling Superman that since he is not of this earth, he is taking energy from the sun in a different way than the New 52 Superman did. And the way he's doing it, it's too much, it's adversely affecting everything, it's throwing everything off, and the earth is trying to deal with it the same way that a body would deal with a virus. Anywho, it's destroying all these crops, and Superman's trying to figure out how on earth they can deal with this. So he's telling Holland that he's glad he's there to help him. Well, he touches Dr. Holland, aka Swamp Thing, right here on the shoulder, like you would normally when you're talking to someone. And then something bad happens. And he starts screaming in ancient Kryptonian. And his eyes are glowing red. And he's just attacking Superman. And Superman, as much as he can make out of it, he understands that Swamp Thing is screaming for help. And it's just this horrible, them being forced to fight kind of situation. Well, Superman has to push Swamp Thing so far into the earth to try to get rid of the Kryptonian toxin or whatever sort of toxin it is that he charged him with that is affecting him and hurting him. And it does the trick. It saves him. Well, Swamp Thing decides he's going to return the favor, and he is going to meld with Superman, and he is going to change the way that he takes energy from the sun. So Superman didn't like that concept, so he fights him, and we get the stereotypical Superman punch fest going on. And then we get this glory. This is probably one of my favorite panel pages in the entire thing. It's Swamp Thing with the mini roots of Swamp Thing. So it totally makes sense that Swamp Thing's able to attach himself through all of the different plant life that's going on in this area and be able to come up and attack that way. And all I gotta say, Superman better be thinking, oh shit. So he fuses with him. Throws him in his mouth, and he fuses with him. And he tells him about how the vibrations that kind of comes off Superman that's different than the old Superman from this world, and how it's affecting everything, how everything in this world is organic, and he's just slightly different. He's different enough to where it's affecting, to where it could destroy this earth. So Swamp Thing helps him to acclimate, and he helps him to change the way that he gains energy from the sun. And when he finally spits him out, we get this great image of a like Swamp Thing Superman creation, and he just tears off all of the algae and all of the moss, and he's a shining Superman. And you know, he thanks Swamp Thing for his help, and Swamp Thing breaks off a little twig off his shoulder, and he says that's a little souvenir. And they have this great little moment where Superman says, "Isn't it good for plants if you talk to them?" And Swamp Thing says, "That's correct for both parties. We may not talk back, but we always are good listeners." Well, I love the fact that we go back to the Kent farm, and it's basically Lois and Clark asking John whether or not he mowed the lawn. And he says, "Well, sorta." And he's like, "What does that mean?" He's like, "I kinda almost started mowing the front lawn." And then you see Clark say, "You know what? We can let it slide for another week." And he's like, "Really?" He's like, "What wrong is it? What's so wrong with watching the grass grow sometimes?" But basically, I mean, it's a little one-off. It's nothing that's going to affect any kind of story that's going on right now. But, you know, it's a fun little way to get both Swamp Thing and Superman in a story together. It's a fun way to explain how he's different than the New 52 Superman, just on a molecular level. It goes into a bit more about his solar radiation and different things that he has going on that way. You know, I don't feel like you need to read it, but it's a fun book, especially if you're a Swamp Thing fan or you're really enjoying the Superman run. I definitely feel like it's something you need to pick up. Yeah, so give me a like if you like this video, comment below and tell me what you thought about the Superman Annual. What did you think about Superman and Swamp Thing teaming up to help him? And yeah, subscribe to my channel for more comic book content, or check out any of my older videos I have up for offer here on Cat Run Figures. Until next time, I'm your host, Caitlin. Bye!